look at your water score. Water reflects your ability to listen and to problem solve. And I think that, if I look at most people that I work with, unless your primary is water, water is one of your lowest, if not your much lowest. And here we are today, scrambling to get things done, scrambling to fix problems. We can't tolerate disunity or being wrong or being slow or uncomfortable feelings. So we race to the finish line to try to solve a problem. But what we don't honor the beautiful benefits of pausing for a second and listening to what's going on inside of you. Like, am I reacting? Right? Or am I taking brilliant action because I'm aware of all these opportunities that came to me while I was sitting there quietly thinking for a minute? Like, even if it's a minute or 5 minutes before you jump in to make a decision, it actually opens up more opportunities that if you react in a moment of discomfort, you're missing out on like all these other ways to solve a problem.
Investing in your client-facing teams will lift performance, create much better customer engagement, and experiences that will ultimately lead to more sales and better lifetime value. But your client-facing team is made up of people with very different personality types, and your normal one-size-fits-all training programs just don't resonate with them. The impact is fleeting, and they quickly revert to type and go back to their old ways of interacting with clients. Having a deeper understanding of what makes each individual in your team tick, and empowering them to understand their own client relationships and interaction styles better and faster using the 5 Archetypes system can dramatically increase connection, engagement, and customer experiences that will ultimately pay off on your bottom line. In this episode, we meet Carey Davidson, a world-renowned speaker, author, founder, HR guru, and is an expert in the business of self-mastery. Her groundbreaking 5 Archetypes system is used in companies and homes around the world to dramatically improve the experience of life and work. Her book, The 5 Archetypes, Discover Your True Nature and Transform Your Life and Relationships, uncovers what motivates perpetual growth and lifelong purpose. Carey's taught for Tony Robbins at UCLA, Columbia University, for Fortune 500 companies and international NGOs. She helps individuals and organizations maximize relationships by leveraging their unique interactive styles. Carey Davidson, welcome to Touchpoints. I have to stick my hand up first and say this is potentially at risk of becoming a little bit of a fanboy exercise, because we have done some work together, and I love what you do. The 5 Archetypes, the work that you do in that area, the work that we've done together has consistently blown me away with just how impactful it can be on both on an individual level and within organizations. So I'm really stoked to have you on board for Touchpoints. And let's kick off firstly with, let's just give us the 2-minute life story of Carey Davidson and how you got to be where you are today.
Well, if you're going to constrain me to 2 minutes,
the 5-minute, 2-minute life story.
I'll pin it down to, I would say, the pivotal experience that I could weave throughout my lifetime, whether it was as, a little kid, an adolescent, in high school, whatever, really was being challenged by not feeling comfortable in uncomfortable emotional situations. So uncomfortable emotional interactions with other people, and always curious to improve my ability not to react to it. Because when I would react, to someone else's anger or fear or frustration, no matter what, I would always make it worse. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I would say what got me to where I am now is really has been my ability to pause, and reflect on the times in interpersonal interactions that were the most uncomfortable, and then be able to take that knowledge and expand with it, which is kind of why I am so in love with the Five Archetypes, because it gives that roadmap. It explains all this misery that I went through my whole life until now. Okay, was that 2 minutes?
That was perfect. And I brought up the Five Archetypes. You're an amazing author. I love the book and I love the work that you do in this space. So give us a rundown. And I know it's hard to be brief on this because there is so much to unpack, but talk us through the Five Archetypes.
Sure. The Five Archetypes, it's a system that combines ancient wisdom and frontier science to really give people an actionable roadmap for how to thrive in the face of challenge. We humans don't deal with discomfort well. When we don't, when our flow is interrupted, we're like, what the heck is going on? And we go into those reactive states, or we ignore it, we sweep it under the rug, and none of those tactics really work. So what I love about the Five Archetypes is it's this actionable, easy to understand system for thriving in the face of even our most difficult situations. So these archetypes, they're based in ancient Chinese medicine philosophy, which is kind of a theory for how all things grow. And they correspond to nature, the elements in nature: fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. We all have these forces within us. They help us function on a physical level, cognitive, behavioral, relationship, spiritual even. But when we understand the balance of the five within our nature, we can be more self-aware, we can self-regulate really easily, we can become resilient very easily. And at its highest level, we learn unconditional love, really, compassion or empathy. There's a lot of talk about, being an empathetic leader these days. And how do we achieve that? Well, this is the roadmap to exactly how to achieve that for yourself and for others.
Love it. Let's unpack the Five Archetypes briefly and just give me the one or two liner in and around what each archetype is and its sort of dominant characteristics. And then we can start looking into how we can use the Five Archetypes system when it comes to our own people in our lives, especially if we're talking customer experience in the workplace. And the better we can understand our people and the better they can understand themselves and how they interact, then the better experience we'll be able to give both our people and the people they interact with. So let's run through those Five Archetypes, and then we can start really digging into that juicy stuff around the impact.
Yay, I love it. All right. So fire people. Fire, if your primary is fire, your gift to the world is joy and hope and optimism. Your biggest fears revolve around loss of connection or loss of love. You can't easily tolerate uncomfortable emotions. spoiler alert. Fire people, they love and require kind of eye contact and touch and closeness with other people. When they don't feel these needs being met, they tend to go into panic and big drama over little things, anxiety. Then you have earth people. Earth people, their gift to the world is unity and compassion, and their biggest fears revolve around abandonment, like people leaving a union. They can't tolerate disunity, people not wanting to be on their team, people not wanting to be their customer, things like that. Under stress, earth people tend to go into overwhelm and worry very easily, and they overcare about fitting in and overcare about kind of almost get addicted to relationship regardless of the quality of the relationship. So then you have metal people. Metal people, their gift to the world is beauty and perfection. They are designers and architects, planners. Metal people, their biggest fears revolve around making a mistake or being wrong. They can't tolerate change or chaos. They need things to sit still and be the way they're expected to be, which is not the way the world works. So it's very hard sometimes when your primary is metal, if you don't have a well-ordered life. Under stress, metal people can overfocus on the story, on the past. It's hard for them to push forward towards the future, towards change, towards momentum, and getting out of that uncomfortable state. Then you have water people. Water people, their gift to the world is deep meaning and peace. Water people are amazing listeners. They're amazing problem solvers. Their biggest fears revolve around being misunderstood, because they are so wise. They are so good at gathering knowledge. The opposite is frightening for them. The idea that all this knowledge they have is meaningless to other people. When they feel stress, water people go into over isolation, and they're prone to depression because they can really pull themselves away from people. They can hide. And then we have wood people. Wood people, their gift to the world is freedom. They are trailblazers. They have endless momentum. They initiate new ideas. They make change for the rest of us. Wood people, their biggest stress revolves around confinement. Anyone or anything getting in their way of getting things done fast. They like speed. When they don't feel they can move things forward fast, their stress states are anger and frustration. They can go quickly into anger and frustration the same way they can go quickly into creating and trailblazing, but they're also quick to recover. And sometimes the rest of us don't recover as quickly from the anger that wood expresses. So there's a lot of like relationship stuff to really understand in order to bring this stuff to life. Those are the 5 basics.
Yes. So, and being a true wood, I can certainly relate to starting lots of things and recovering quickly and just getting on with life.
Yes.
Fantastic. So when it comes to our people then, and let's thinking in the context of customer experience, how do we then identify, I know how we identify it because you've got an amazing test that people can go through, what sort of type or what the dominant archetype is with our people. But then if we're thinking about that human to human interaction, what can we do to help our people have better interactions with our customers using something like the 5 archetypes?
Well, I've done this exercise with companies where a whole team, like a sales team, for example, will take the assessment and measure their relationship to the qualities or requirements of a good salesperson. Right? So a good salesperson needs to be able to take the initiative, to not take no for an answer so easily, to keep moving the ball down the court, to build relationships, to make eye contact, to stay the course, right? And to actually schedule time to keep it moving forward. So those are all like very wood, a little bit of fire, and a little bit of metal requirements. And so if you take your scores and you compare them to like, hey, I need to have a lot of wood to be a good salesperson, and your lowest is wood, that's a way that I've used this with companies to be like, hey, there's a reason why only 20% of your sales team are rock stars, because everyone else has low or medium wood. And so there are really empathetic, compassionate ways to teach people to have more of that wood energy in their nature. Each of us has a different learning style, and if wood is your lowest or is close to your lowest, you naturally cannot tolerate sales-like behavior. It's uncomfortable. You'd rather do anything else than ask for someone to buy your product. And so it's really interesting and eye-opening to understand and then have compassion for this person in this job. Like, how do I then, appreciate and empathize with their relationship to asking for a sale and build that ability in that person? So like if you're working with your internal team and you're trying to build a skill, understand which archetype corresponds to the skill that you're trying to build in them. And then compare your staff scores to that particular skill set. And then you can see what bridge do I have to build to train my staff? You could be spending time and money and effort on one size fits all sales training that you're still not going to impact people who don't have high wood. They just won't, they'll close the door. Mm-hmm. Learning that skill because it is intolerable.
Yeah. So when we understand what makes people tick, we can then invest more wisely in coaching and training them about how to get better interactions and better outcomes, in essence, using their own superpower rather than this is how we sell.
Yeah, it's a very fixed mindset. So you're talking about like, how do we connect with our customers? How do we, I think not only now, but years leading up to now that we've pretty much been in this epidemic of disconnect. Like we don't know what we need. We don't know how to be in relationship. We don't know how to talk to people anymore. Right. Most of us, like a lot of the people on the planet today were born with like a device that they look at more than they make eye contact. So a lot of the people we're hiring today don't know how to interact with customers, and so we're talking about like, what is sales about? What is connecting about? It's, I think we kind of need to relearn it, it's been, I think it's kind of, a little bit of a lost art, but yeah. And I think we're suffering because of it. The workplace is suffering, our internal teams, our external relationships, our home relationships, so it's important now.
So one of my secret favorite pastimes is people watching. So sitting in the cafe or you're in the workplace and those couple of seconds of interactions that you either have or observe, trying to figure that person out as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And I can see this great correlation between that pastime of mine and any sort of customer interaction where if you are thinking about things from the Five Archetypes perspective, what are those tells in and around each of the archetypes? So that if you start interacting with a customer or a potential customer, what are those tells that you can pick up on in and around the individual dominant archetypes? And with those archetypes, how would you then recommend that people start or continue those interactions with them? Because if you're dealing with somebody like me who's very high in wood, then I think it's a very, very different conversation than somebody that is very, very high in metal. Let's just say we're walking into a retail store and we're looking to buy a television. Yeah. What's the difference between wood and metal, and how can we tell in those first few interactions?
Well, it's so funny. I love what you're saying. First, you're talking about observing people. And that's even a skill that many people don't take the time to do because it's slow. You have to sit there. It's not about action. It's not about moving. It's about listening. It's about water. It's about peace. It's about sitting still until you can notice something about someone. So the first step to doing what I'm about to tell you is, can you get still enough to pay attention to these subtle differences in people? Because a lot of times they are subtle, but as soon as you start to understand it and know it, it pops, and it'll pop more easily. But it's not because it's popping, it's because you're more quiet, you're more still, you appreciate the skill of listening more. So selling you a TV. All right. So the difference between noticing a wood person and a metal person. Wood people tend to take up more space. You know, they tend to move, there's a forward and upward energy about them. So they might move through the store, taking up more space or with more speed. They'll be more direct. They're going to be, tell me about this, you know, like, tell me about this TV. And, you know, they want to engage. They want to also, sometimes you could feel challenged by them, depending on your type. We all have like these split second judgments we make on the others. So if you're feeling pressed or pushed or challenged, you're likely talking to a wood person. And then you have metal people. Metal people are kind of opposite, or one of the opposites to wood. And they're very, they tend to be skinny, taller. They tend to hold themselves with like very specific posture. They will ask questions about data. Give me the data on this TV. How long does it usually last? Do you have a warranty? How long is it, you know, how long is it going to last me? Is this the right TV to get? Mm-hmm. How many people buy this? You know, they want the data, they want the details, they want to know they're buying the best TV, and they want to know you're the smartest person in the store that can answer all these big questions. Very important. And they are also, in terms of like the way they move and the speed. So if wood is the fastest, metal is all about stop. So if you're a salesperson, if you're the salesperson, you want to move the deal. You want to make the sale happen. Metal won't let you move. So if you're the salesperson and you're trying to, like, you can engage with a wood person, they'll spar with you. Metal's like, no, I don't want you to sell me. I want you to tell me the data. And so they won't move forward until they feel that they've gotten enough of the best information and they're making the best choice. Mm-hmm. So, and they dress a little differently. They take up a little less space. They stay pretty still. They're direct rather than kind of, you know, taking up more space and forward moving.
So would be more about, you know, what do you want to use it for? What sell the dream? You know, getting out there and imagine this in your media room, sell the vision, versus somebody metal is, I want to know how many pixels it is it fit for purpose? I already know exactly what I want. I want you to prove to me that you know enough about it, that it's the right thing for me.
Yes, 100%. Wood are visionaries. They like, oh, this is going to look, they can imagine how it's going to look, how they're going to use it in the future.
Mm-hmm. And are they not necessarily set on a particular size screen model? I'm just using the TV analogy versus metal do their research first, come all prepared, and it's about validation.
Well, wood
making wild assumptions.
Yeah, well, no, it's cool because wood cares about being best first. They care about winning, so they might go out on, like, here in the United States we have was it Black Friday? I should know. where do I live? Black Friday, like right after Thanksgiving, everyone goes to, you know, get the biggest and best deals. So like a wood person would be there at 4 a.m. to be the first one in line to get the newest version of XYZ TV and then tell all their friends they've got it. And like, it's a big deal that I got the best, biggest TV. You know, the first one out, they only made 200 and I got the first one. Like that makes a wood person feel good. So if you're selling to a wood person, you know, if your client is wood, keep them abreast of like what's new, what's best. Hey, you can get this before anyone else does. You know, a metal doesn't care. Metal would prefer that it have proven results for some time before they go and bite the bullet. Like they want to see the performance data.
Yeah. So what sort of things can we do with our people and our teams to help bolster their skill set in and around, let's just say we want to use the 5 archetype system. What sort of things can we do to help them be better at their jobs and give ultimately our customers a better experience?
Well, I would say the first thing is, if they have 10 minutes, they should take the assessment. It's free, it's online, and they should look at their water score. Just like a tip of the iceberg place to start. Look at your water score. Water reflects your ability to listen and to problem solve. And I think that, if I look at most people that I work with, unless your primary is water, water is one of your lowest, if not your much lowest. And here we are today, scrambling to get things done, scrambling to fix problems. We can't tolerate disunity or being wrong or being slow or uncomfortable feelings. So we race to the finish line to try to solve a problem. But what we don't honor the beautiful benefits of pausing for a second and listening to what's going on inside of you. Like, am I reacting, right? Or am I taking brilliant action because I'm aware of all these opportunities that came to me while I was sitting there quietly thinking for a minute? Like, even if it's a minute or 5 minutes before you jump in to make a decision, it actually opens up more opportunities that if you react in a moment of discomfort, you're missing out on like all these other ways to solve a problem. And so I would say that's the top thing I would suggest to anyone on the planet at this moment to do that, because I see that and I have to teach it every single time I do a workshop. When I look at people's scores, it's the #1 challenge. And without that, you can't really do any more work. There is a hierarchy of like healing or, growing abilities in these interactions and communicating, connecting with your clients and your staff. And the bottom thing you got to do is learn how to listen.
Yeah.
So that's what
a little bit of that slow down to go at a faster pace to get to the end.
Yeah. A little. I'm not saying like a week every time to make a decision. Literally minutes can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Now, you have been involved in some pretty amazing things. And one of the things I want to touch on, to just talk about your observations in and around creating a phenomenal experience. And stop me if you can't talk about it. But you get asked to speak at so many different events, and I know that you have spoken at some really, really high level Tony Robbins things as well. And I look at Tony Robbins and I look at what he does, and he just absolutely knows his lane. He absolutely deeply understands the people that he connects with and connect with him. And the actual experience of being there as an observer must be sort of out of this world to see what he can create for his core audience. If you can, talk me through that.
Yeah. Well, so, a second ago, I was talking about there are split second ways that we see all the other archetypes, things that each of the other archetypes will kick up in us, in our experience. So, so hold that for a second, because I'm going to use that. But Tony is a very wood energy. He's all about challenging you to be your best, like all the time. And there are people in this world who want that, who are really driven to be like, I need a coach. That's like wood types are actually coaches. They are people who remind you that you can do your best and be your best. They teach you to attain freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want to do it, to get things done. And so if you have a person who has a platform as big as he has, I mean, he's a celebrity. People see him on the internet, they see his videos, they hear him speak. So he's able to, have this mega megaphone out there talking about like, hey, if you want wood qualities, I'm the dude to teach you. And so people who are lacking those qualities, who really know that's what they need to succeed, will all be drawn to attend his events, because that's the place to learn these qualities. And so I'm primary fire. My second is earth. Wood is my third. So wood is kind of, it's there. It's not that it's like my lowest, but when I'm around wood energy, wood is also my parent energy. So I will feel like, wow, I need to make sure everyone here thinks I'm serious, because I know wood people can think that fire people are too silly. They're not serious enough. So I will naturally go into this. I want them to I want them to hear what I have to say and take me seriously. But at the same time, I want them to experience what it feels like to not just not take me seriously, but to empathize with the fact that there are 5 ways of engaging with information and with the world. So I wanted to play a little bit with that relationship. And so I was very fiery and a little silly. And I went up and I asked for like all the wood people in the room, to stand up. And I said, and this is probably like 5 minutes in, and like, raise your hand, raise your hand if all of you are wondering, what's the point and when is she going to get to it? I want her to get to it fast. And like most of them raised their hand. Like that is key. Keep that in your mind as wood people. You're going to feel that about most other people in the room. And in that space and that energy, that's a sign. That's the universe knocking on your door saying, hey, bring in some water here. That's like, can you pause and listen? Maybe there's some opportunity in this connection and this information. Maybe I need to be more compassionate. Maybe I need to make more eye contact, like all these fiery things. Maybe I need to inject a joy and inspiration into this coaching method I'm building. So it was really interesting to be like a fire in the room filled with wood people. Yeah, it was pretty wild. I hope, did that answer your question? My fiery self all over.
Yeah. I want to dig a little bit deeper into that, because that environment, that atmosphere, and I'll call it the hype in the room, it doesn't just happen by mistake. And it's very sort of, I'll say, curated in regards to, this is the journey we want to take the audience on. What are your observations in and around how that experience was created for the audience? Because for me, thinking about the customer experience, or the registration, that person that's registered for that event, how did they create? What sort of little things did they do to create that hype? And I know it's all about Tony and things like that, but there are just little nuances that make such a big difference between a good event and a great event. Were there any little things that you noticed that you're like, wow, that's really clever?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So wood people, they're drawn out by fire. Mm-hmm. So it's they feel they cope through fire when they feel stress. So it's a release. Mm-hmm. Fire feels good to them. And fire is about music, celebration, even sometimes like intuition, joy, playfulness. And so it was very interesting the way that it wasn't all work, right? And really, it was a lot of work. It was hard. People were really there to learn and grow, but they really injected playfulness and music and dancing and fun throughout the day, so that people really got to enjoy each other, and to build connections with each other, which is all fiery. I think let's see, what else would I say was, that was like the biggest thing that struck me, how well they used fire energy, because wood gravitates to fire. It's drawn to fire. And so even in the midst of all this hard, relationship building structure we're going to do, they very, and I don't know if they did it because they knew about the archetypes or because it was just a natural. I mean, these are all natural. They're based in nature. It's how we engage. So we do innately know these things and do some of these things. But they were able to really ignite the fire of connection in a way that made people feel, I think, more bonded, rather than just talk to about, here are different strategies for being better at these things. So I think for me, that was a big eye-opening, like, bravo moment for me.
Love it. And I am conscious of time, and your time is incredibly precious. So if you could finish with one piece of advice for, let's call it a salesperson or an account manager, somebody in that customer facing role that is looking to be a better version of themselves and really just smash it out of the park, what would you encourage them to do to become better at who they are and what they do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say the first thing would be to, I know I'm going to go back to listen, but this is about listening to yourself. When you start to feel emotions kick up, whether it's anger or frustration in the face of an interaction with a client, like someone didn't return an email after a week, or someone showed up late for a meeting, or someone bashed your PowerPoint and didn't think it looked good, and so they're going to go with another sale, when any of these interactions kick up uncomfortable emotions, don't do anything right away. That is, your emotions are only there to pinpoint unmet needs for safety. They're important. Don't sweep them under the rug. You don't have to do anything yet. Don't blame anyone for your emotions. Don't take action, but just see if you can sit in that uncomfortable space and identify what needs for safety haven't been met. And that's where you start to build your toolkit for, like, oh, wait, I didn't proofread it. There were spelling errors. Like, I wouldn't buy from me either if I had sent that. Now, what do I need? I need an extra week, in the beginning of my sales process to proofread all of my stuff, or I need an assistant who can proofread, right? So that emotional space leads you to identify it, gets you quiet, look inside, like, what do I really need to be better? So it's almost like reframing, rather than emotional leads to I'm firing my team or whatever. It's like, hey, can you really get quiet enough and pause in that emotion enough for it to give you new opportunities and new tools?
Stop, pause, and respond rather than react.
Yeah.
Self-reflection.
Yeah.
That's great advice for me. I really appreciate it. As usual, it is always such a pleasure to catch up and talk with you. Where are the best places that people can find you? And we will put them in the show notes as well.
Well, you can find me in person on Cape Cod if you can travel these days.
I'm on my way.
I know, right? But you can find me online at careydavidson.com. My book is available on all the book selling websites. Where else? Instagram, Carey Davidson author. I'm on Facebook. Email, Carey at careydavidson.com.
Don't forget LinkedIn.
See, I'm a crappy student.
We'll put all of those ways to contact you in the show notes, as well as a link to the 5 Archetypes assessment. Yes. And I know there is a whole bunch of great information that comes out of that can at least give people the starting point to start figuring out how to better understand themselves and how they interact with others, and just giving us all a much better experience in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
So good to catch up.
Likewise.
I will let you get on with your amazing day. Get back to Cape Cod, get back to those Careys, and we will catch up again soon.
All right, you got it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening into this episode, which is made possible by the team at touchpointgroup.com, the customer intelligence company you can partner with to rapidly translate your customer feedback data into actionable insights that will enable you to prioritize actions that make a demonstrable difference. You'll find a link to their website in the show notes. Thanks again. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and see you soon.